Hello and thanks for joining me again. This week's stillwater pattern is the ever popular Nemo. In the vise I have a Hanak H200 barbless hook and it's at size 10. The thread I'm going to be using today is from Fish On and it's Ultimate Tyne Silk, and as you can see it's a rusty brown colour. So before I cast the Tyne Silk on, first thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of super glue to the shank. The Ultimate Tyne Silk has very similar properties to the Vivas, so very slidey, and I want to make sure that my fly doesn't twist round. So I'm just going to get that spread on the shank, then I can cast my thread on and bring it all the way up to where the barb would be on a Camazan hook. Once I brought it up to the right length, I can trim my waste away, and I'm going to use just a cheap cock cape, and I've already taken a fibre off of this, and I'm going to strip off maybe 5 or 6 fibres from the stalk at a 45-degree angle. Just pull them away, and then that should bring the tips all into line. Now I want this to be about half the length of the hook shank. So that looks about right. I'm going to get a couple of wraps in just to hold it into place, then have a look, and I'm fairly happy with that. So I'll just bring my thread up to trap the remainder of the fibres. The stuff I don't need at the front here, I'm going to trim away at this point, like so. Now, next I'm going to add in my 2 ribs. So the ribs today with a Nemo it's a red holographic, you can see here, and this is quite a thin one. So I'm going to catch that in first of all, and I'm going to catch it in on my side. Now it's very thin, so I'm going to bring my thread up to the thorax area and catch it all the way down, because I want to keep that body at the shank as even as possible. The next rib then is a silver wired rib. There's no sticker on this, it's fallen off, but it's basically a medium silver rib, soft wire, and I've already taken a little bit off here. And again, you'll notice that I'm going to run this the complete length of the shank. Now the reason for that is when I come to do my body, it will keep it nice and even. So once I've caught that in, I'll come all the way to the top and then back down again. Okay, so that's my 2 ribs, and the body itself is pheasant tail fibres. Now from this stalk I'm going to take 2 or 3 strands, and I'm going to catch that in at the tip. Just use your thumb and forefinger to bring it together, and then catch your end in, and that can then come all the way up. And I'm not overly fussed about where I stop here, because this area here is going to be the thorax anyway. So I'm going to take my fibres, try and keep them together. They do have a tendency to split, the pheasant tail fibres, and as we've mentioned before in other videos, it's quite a fragile material. So just take your time when you're bringing it round. And because I've used the wire and the holographic all the way up the length of the body, I've got a nice even body. I'm just going to use my thumb and forefinger in my left hand to bring this round one last time, and then I can catch that a couple of turns just to keep it in place, and then I can just lash this through. I'll trim away the waste here, don't need that. And before I do anything else, I'm just going to have a little tidy up in this thorax area. There we go. Now, the first rib to come up is the red holographic. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to wind it towards me. And it's important that you remember which way you're going with each of the ribs. Try and keep it nice and evenly spaced. If you can, the neater you've got these turns, the better the fly will look to the human eye anyway. I don't think the fish care that much, to be honest. But just keep your turns nice and even, and then catch in at the end here. And trim away your red. Okay, next. So I've brought that towards myself. This time I want my wire rib to be going in the opposite direction. And I'm going to try and keep that just nice and even. Same as the red. And the idea is that the wire rib will protect the much more vulnerable holographic strand. So I've brought that up the length of the hook. I'm going to catch that in now with a few turns, and then holding my thread under tension, I can twist that away. The thorax area, I'm going to use some black peacock herring. It's just plain, it's not the eye, and I'm going to take 2 strands from this, and what I want is the thick ends. So I brought the thick ends together, and I'm just going to tidy them up by trimming them away there. Before I do anything else, I'm going to add a little wax to my thread just to get a bit of purchase on this. Then I can catch that in. Now your thorax, I like it to be approximately 2/8 of an inch. Just shy of a third of the total length of the body. So I've cut that in now, and what I'm going to do is grabbing the 2 fibres together, wind them up like so, and I'm going to go back over what I've just wound, and what I'm trying to do is just achieve that rugby ball shape. Oops, just lost a fibre there. I'll just reattach that to my fingers. Rugby ball shaped thorax. So I'll just keep going. I've lost it again. It's quite a short fibre this. I've made work for myself here. So I'm fairly happy with that. I'm going to bring it to the front now. Cross over with my thread. Like so. Get 2 or 3 wraps in, bring the peacock herring back, and then you should be able to just rip that away. So that's looking pretty good. Let's just check what you're seeing. Yep, not too shabby. For the hackle at the front, I'm just going to use a badger cape. Again, fairly cheap. This one could come from Funky Fly Time. I've already selected a feather, and the way I select my feathers is I want the fibres to be the same length as the body pretty much. Before I catch that in, I can help myself out a little with just waxing up about 1 inch of the thread there. So I'll catch that in. I've already cleaned away the rough ends, save a bit of time, and I'm going to use my hackle pliers now to come in and grab the tip. Now I want to get 2 turns out of this, so you can see there's plenty of feather here and it should be easily achievable. There's one. Now as I go, I'm just fluffing that hackle out, and my second turn, in it comes, and again I'm just agitating the fibres to get the hackles to fan out for me. Make sure that your hackle is now in front of your thread. Try and bring everything back out the way. Make sure you're catching that in. 2 or 3 turns should do the job. And keeping your thread under tension, pull that away. Just going to lick my thumb and forefinger in my left hand, sweep everything back, and I'm just about ready to finish the fly off now. So before I do that, what I'm going to do is add some red marker. Although the thread is already coloured, this just adds a bit of depth to the colour. So this is the Ruby Pro marker, and I'm just going to come in there and colour that thread a bit more. And then as well as that, I'm going to finish off, as I'm sure you've seen me do many times now, with a little bit of UV resin on the thread. And you can see that's forming a lovely neat head. Now I'm just going to catch a half turn in here. You can use a whip finish tool, and then I'm going to bury my thread inside there. I can then come in with my UV torch, make sure it's all cured, just get under the bottom there. It's a bit of a bogey fly for me, this. I don't really catch a lot of fish on the Nemo. I do fish something very similar. It's a pattern that I got off the Alan Ward many years ago, and it's a little red dial back. I might show you that at some point, which I find much more effective. But you know, for those with the confidence in the Nemo, this is a fairly decent showing of the pattern. Now what I would do now, if I was going to take photographs of this, and you can see the photograph in the title slide, I would run this under the tap on a fly clip and leave it to dry naturally, and that just leaves the feathers sitting nice for the photographs. But there we go, that's the Nemo. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks very much for watching.